Yes.
Did you hear
Okay.
me before? Or, oh, sorry. I was
We
speaking before, but I guess you didn't hear me.
we could not hear you earlier. Okay, calling this meeting to order at 7:07 p.m. This is a special legislative meeting. Members of the council present are Councilmember Dixon, Councilmember Mayers, Councilmember Richardson, Councilmember Lingua, Councilmember Foe. Missing is Councilmember Henry. All others are present. That's fantastic. Members of the council, you have an agenda before you. If those of you on the phone need me to read it out, I can do so. Please let me know. Council members, Mayers, and Richardson, do you have a copy of the agenda before you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I need to say something to all the whole councilmen before. Good talking to y'all. Good to be back. But I'm gonna need to know when I know we've been at home and everything about my father and everything. But I'm gonna be in Richmond in the middle of this month to the end of the month. I just found out my father has 4 horses and 6 acres of land in Richmond.
4 horses and 6 acres?
Yes, and I'm trying to sell it. And I've been back and forth from Capitol Heights, Riverdale, and everything. And I'm just saying that when I came to today over in my ward, Riverwood, they are remodeling. They got trash everywhere on the side. Somebody needs to come out here and get Park Tanglewood and Riverwood straight.
Okay, well, I think that the town manager has recorded your statement and we'll take it. But for now, why don't we go ahead and are there any changes required to the agenda of the special legislative meeting?
Okay, baby.
Point of clarification, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I take it we're going in the order that is presented on the page, and that we'll be doing the special legislative first and then the work session?
Exactly.
Okay, want to make sure.
And unless you have an objection.
No, I was just making sure I understood what the order was.
Okay. Hearing no requirements for changing the agenda, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Ooh, I think that Foe got it by a few milliseconds. So I'll give the second to Councilman Lingua. Motion by Councilmember Foe, second by Councilmember Lingua to approve the agenda. Are there any comments on the agenda? Any discussion? Any public comments? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Henry is absent. Councilmember Richardson.
Aye.
Councilmember Mayers.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 501. The first item past the agenda is public comments. Are there any public comments this evening? Ms. Katz is shaking her head no. I don't believe there are any other members of the public present, so let's move on. Item number 1 is a motion to adopt ordinance 2020-OR-09 regarding the fiscal year 2021 budget and tax rates. May I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2020-OR-09, which is an ordinance concerning the FY 2021 budget and tax rate.
Thank you, Councilmember Lingua. Is there a second to the motion?
Seconded.
Second.
Councilmember Foe seconded the motion. Didn't hear who the third was, but we have a second. That's all that matters. So is there discussion of this ordinance?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Please.
Mr. Mayor, this is for the purpose, and this is for anyone listening in who may not have been able to beforehand. This is for the purpose of adopting operating and capital budgets for the town of Riverdale Park for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2020 and ending June 30, 2021. setting rates for real and personal property and operating property taxation for such fiscal year and levying such taxes, and matters generally relating to the adoption of town budgets and levying of taxes and setting of tax rates for the town of Riverdale Park for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2020 and ending June 30, 2021. The town council desires to adopt a budget for the town of Riverdale Park. The budget reflects proposed operating and capital expenditures and anticipated revenues for the upcoming fiscal year. As a matter of prudent fiscal policy, even with all proposed expenditures, the town intends to maintain a general fund unrestricted fund balance of approximately $2,447,646. Now, therefore, being enacted by the Council of the Town of Riverdale Park, that the Town of Riverdale Park budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2020 and ending June 30, 2021, entitled Town of Riverdale Park FY 2021 Financial Plan and Budget, consisting of 5 pages, FY 2021 Fund Designations, FY 2021 Anticipated Real Property Revenues, FY 2021 Anticipated Revenues, Capital Improvement Programs, FY 2021 Revenue, and Capital Improvement Programs, FY 2021 Expenditures, a copy of which is attached to this ordinance and incorporated herein by reference is hereby adopted. And I will leave it at that.
Okay, Councilmember, if I might make a few comments myself, being careful to stay within the limits. I just wanted to say that this budget adopts a real property tax rate of $0.654 per $100 of assessed real property value, and enacts a personal and operating property tax of $2 per $100 of assessed property value. Just wanted to get those tax rates directly into the verbal record. Is there other council comment or public comment on this ordinance? We have been talking about it for a long time, and we've spent dozens of hours of reviewing it and discussing it and going over the basis of it. So here we are. I think we're all pretty happy with it. So I'll give one more opportunity and then go to a roll call vote on the motion.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Echoing your sentiments, I would like to extend a great appreciation to staff for the double effort they had to make in terms of preparing this budget prior and then after the onset of the pandemic that we're currently under the hold of, for lack of a better term. This was a substantial task to do twice, let alone once. And the efforts appreciated, and the input that they received towards this, and how they laid out this budget yet again is a credit to their work and their preparation.
Thank you. I share your sentiment of extending many thanks to the town staff. I know they put in a lot of very long hours, very difficult, very time crunched when everything was going on, producing this beautiful and well thought out budget. And I will also say, as someone who's now enacted very many budgets, that seeing that we are enacting in these uncertain times a very conservative budget that seeks to put us in a stable financial position, I am very appreciative of. Okay, hearing no other comments and seeing no one waving their hands on the video, I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon?
Aye.
Councilmember Foe?
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua?
Aye.
Councilmember Richardson,
Aye.
Councilmember Mayers,
Aye.
Councilmember Henry is not present. Is that correct? I abstain. The motion passes 501. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a motion to authorize the town manager to sign a cooperation agreement with Prince George's County regarding the Community Development Block Grant CDBG Urban County Qualification for fiscal year 2021 through 2023. And if I might ask for staff to present a report on this before we have a motion, would that be acceptable?
Yes.
So Ryan, if you could, please.
Yes, yes. So the basis of this motion is to allow the town to enter into agreements in the future with regards to community development block grant funds. So the Prince George's County is designated an entitlement community by HUD, and that means that they have certain funds set aside just for the county, and they allow municipalities to apply for community development block grant projects through the county. And in order to do so, we need to establish this cooperation agreement with them.
So this is just something that we do in order to continue the practice we have had for many years of applying through the county for CDBG money.
Yes, that's correct. This is not the first time.
Okay. Is there a council member who is ready to make a motion to authorize the town manager at this time? Or do you need more background?
I'm ready to.
Please do.
There's no objection. Pardon me. What's this? Sorry, my pad's being a little bulky.
I can also do it.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to. Damn it. There we go. There we go. This motion, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the town manager to sign a cooperation agreement with Prince George's County regarding a community development block grant, urban county qualifications for federal FY 2021 through 2023.
Thank you, council member. Is there a second to the motion?
Seconded.
Motion made by Councilmember Lingua, seconded by Councilmember Foe. Is there discussion of the motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll defer my opening comment on this to what staff has presented.
Okay.
Just allow staff also the opportunity if there's anything else they'd like to add during this time.
Staff, is there anything else to add?
Can they provide some
I'm sorry, go ahead.
some clarification on what we anticipate using the grant to do? I may have missed that.
This isn't for a specific grant. This gives us the ability to apply for grants. So the county receives a lump sum, if you will, in each program year. And they have both a 5-year plan and a 1-year annual action plan. So they will open the application period, and we would have an opportunity to apply for community development block grant funds for anything that's within their annual action plan. Historically, the town has applied for construction projects, capital improvement projects. We're currently administering a $155,000 grant for design and construction of sidewalks on 48th Avenue. And we have a grant application in currently, I believe, for $125,000 for sidewalks on Oglethorpe. We will find out, we should have found out by now, but I just think that the county is running behind. We'll probably find out mid to late June whether or not that application will be successful. So over the next 3 years, we would have the opportunity to apply for these funds.
Okay. Is there a public comment? Saw a subtle head shake there. Oh, there we go.
Sorry, got a few things open. So DHCD, right? That acronym, which is in the letter as well, that rings a bell for me with regards to opportunities for funding for sustainability-related projects as well. I know, Mr. Lestitian, you mentioned a couple of sidewalk projects that the town is pursuing. I was just curious if there's been any thought of any other projects. DHCD.
I don't have a specific project in mind, but Ryan and I will review their annual action plan. And if there's an opportunity to apply for sustainability projects, we will. And we can get a copy of the annual action plan and forward that to our green team as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, there might even be something energy related. I'm trying to remember. I might have some information as well. So, okay, thank you for
Okay.
again at that. Thanks.
And Ryan, if you could please arrange to have a copy of the county's annual action plan forwarded.
Absolutely.
Okay, is there any more council or public comment on this motion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Henry is still absent, I believe. Councilmember Richardson,
Aye.
Councilmember Mayers,
Aye.
I abstain. The motion passes 5-0-1. Thank you. The next item, item 3 of legislative action items, is a motion to adopt resolution 2020-R-14, call to a cooperative approach to address the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Do we want to discuss this as a new piece of legislation, or do we want to go ahead and have a motion to adopt and then discuss after that?
I'm comfortable either way.
I would prefer to follow the rules of order and have a motion first.
Okay. Well then,
So moved.
second.
Who made the motion?
I did.
Okay, so a motion was made by Councilmember Dixon, seconded by Councilmember Lingua. We have the motion in front of us. This is, maybe we could have a staff discussion of this. I know this was perhaps inspired by some of the discussions we had last week. Is there a staff discussion?
Just that this was the staff's effort from the last time. Well, actually, I guess it was 2 meetings ago. Last week was just a public hearing, my apologies. There was discussion about whether or not a letter would be composed seeking for landlords to work with their tenants. Staff had a lot of discussion internally about an approach, and the product you have in front of you is our effort to capture the spirit of what was talked about, but to do so through a resolution as opposed to a letter to individual property owners. This was also discussed among the staff team in the context of the CARES Act funding and working with the Department of Social Services with the county on a residential rental relief in terms of funding that. So there's a collaborative effort there, and that's on a work session item for later this evening, sir.
Okay. Thank you for that report. Is there council discussion of this, this resolution? Public comments? So this is just a resolution saying that we're encouraging pretty much everyone involved to be engaged in understanding that there's a lot of economic pain going around, and that we are all going to try to discuss the best way and implement the best ways of addressing that for everyone involved. And so I think that this is a reasonable sort of vision statement of how we want to work going ahead. Councilmember Lingua, you disappeared for a little while from the screen, at least. Did you miss any of the discussion?
I missed a little bit, but about, I don't know, what, 30 seconds of it, so.
Okay, well, it was basically just a discussion that this is a framework, an idea of how to move forward on the issues of significant economic pain, trying to balance the interests of everyone, since of course there are very few people in our economy who are sitting on top of piles of cash right now. And
essentially a review of what's here in the whereases and in the final resolution. I take it then. Okay.
Do you have any comments on the resolution, Councilmember?
Other than the fact that I just feel it's probably the best balanced approach we can take right now in terms of asking for cooperation. I just hope that in passing this, that we also try and be as much of a, while we're encouraging this, to do so if however we can, as either tenants or businesses approach us, the town that is, that we're able to be in a proactive manner of responding to them. I think short of us going back and reviewing to seeing what else we could do to help alleviate this in a financial way, this is about as far as we can go.
Okay. Any other council comments or public comments? Okay, I'm going to do a roll call vote.
Mr. Mayor, if I could make I apologize, if I could make an additional staff comment. So if this is approved tonight, Ms. Barnes will work with her team to publicize through our communication network, our social media, our website, through our outreach materials, that this is the position of the town. And so as with all direction that the council gives us, it's not going to just sit. This gives direction to the staff team to then promulgate this to the community in a variety of forms.
Okay, including the work session item on CARES Act expenditures.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay. Any more comments? Otherwise, I'm going to do a roll call vote. Okay. Councilmember Dixon?
Aye.
Councilmember Foe?
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua?
Aye.
Councilmember Henry is still not present. Councilmember Richardson?
Aye.
Councilmember Mayers?
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 5-0-1. Are there any items of unfinished business? Are there any items of new business? May I have a motion to adjourn?
Well, it's not necessarily new business. I just want to make clear from this resolution that it's pretty general, but we're going to go back and flesh out what initiatives we are going to take as a town to help alleviate some of the rental issues that some of our residents are having. Is that a correct understanding?
Yes.
Okay. And will we receive, like, will it be presented at a future meeting, or how are we planning on doing next steps? I know it's not a part of this, so I didn't raise it, but I want to at least cover it before we move on.
So this is sort of a vision of how we want to get there, a very vague roadmap without the roads very well drawn out. And I believe that staff is going to be reaching out to affected individuals and entities, and will bring us various ideas for how to move forward on this. And if you have specific ideas, as I mentioned, you know, one of the items that is addressing this is item 4 on our work session, the CARES Act funding plan, which has some, and also the renewal of economic development programs that will help us to address some of these issues using available funding. And then I think that the way that we implement that will be asking for some sacrifices on the part of the property owners as well. So we will, but that's still to be determined. And if you have any specific ideas for activities to perform under this, then please reach out to staff. And I'm hoping we're not going to continue to have weekly meetings, but we can certainly meet as often as needs be to enact any further resolutions that we need to. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Of course. Okay, are there any other items of new business? May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion to adjourn has been made by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Dixon. I'll do a roll call as the motion to adjourn does not have discussion. Councilmember Dixon?
Aye.
Councilmember Foe?
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua? Councilmember Lingua?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Henry is not present. Councilmember Richardson? Councilmember Mayers?
Aye.
I abstain. The motion passes 501. We are adjourned at 7:34 p.m. Hearing no objections, so will take us immediately into the work session agenda. And this is an informal meeting, so we will not have the strict strictures of the rules of order. So, but we are in a meeting. Is there anything big on the agenda that anyone would like to see changed? I understand that there are 2 council members, Councilmember Richardson, who will be leaving us in about 25 minutes. Councilmember Dixon may have a conflict. You weren't sure when I texted with you earlier at 8:30. So do we want to rearrange anything on the work session discussion items or the reports, or just go ahead through in this order?
I'm fine with the order.
Okay, very good. Then I'm going to go ahead and jump. Yes?
Mr. Mayor, if I make a suggestion, in order to accommodate this, my suggestion is move council committee and ward reports to the end.
Okay,
Or
I think that's
after,
fine. Usually during the work session.
At least after, between. You know, if that is the other council members agree.
I'm not seeing anyone making faces, whose faces I can see. So I think that's fine. Usually the council committee and ward reports go pretty quickly during the work session, but you never know. So moving ahead, then I will give a very short mayor's report. The Again, focusing on the COVID-19, the numbers in 20737 are flat. We're having about 10 diagnoses a day. Looking back over the last 14 days, we had one spike where many lab reports came in. Other than that, it's been sort of sitting at that flat number. I hope that we've seen maybe a drop today. I'm hoping that that trend will continue. The state is seeing a reduction, and the county is very slowly moving down. I'm hoping that that will accelerate over the week ahead. So knock on wood for that. That concludes the mayor's report. Are there public comments this evening? The member of the public is shaking her head. I'll take that as a no. Town manager's report. You're muted, Mr. Town Manager.
I have nothing for this evening, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. We've pushed the council committee and ward reports to after the work session discussion items, I believe is where you wanted to put them, Mr. Councilman. So
Yes,
let's
sir.
go ahead and jump into the work session discussion items. Fence permit request, 6-foot cedar fence in the backyard of 6101 43rd Street. This is in Ward 1. Councilmember Dixon?
I haven't had an opportunity to speak with the residents. I will try to give them a call, or I will give them a call. But basically, they are seeking to place a 6-foot fence on the left rear side of their home. And I don't anticipate it being a problem, but the photos that they provided are somewhat difficult in seeing exactly where it would be outside of the plan that they provided us. So I will talk to them and get a sense of whether they know their neighbors and whether their neighbors are willing to reach out and make sure there are no issues, and then report back before our next meeting.
Okay, so you'd like that to stay on the regular agenda for next week then?
Yes.
Okay, and I will just mention that purely by coincidence, on one of my weekend walks, I walked past there, I think it was a week ago, a little bit over a week ago. It feels like it was a long time ago as time is stretched out these days. And the one thing I noted is that there's an alleyway there, and it appears to be being used as a driveway by this resident. I don't think it's an issue, but just wanted to point out that there is public right of way there on the south side of the lot. So that's, but I did not, since I didn't know about this, I did not certainly look at it as a possible site for a 6-foot fence proposal. Just happened to be there. Any other discussion of this item? Public comments? Okay, let's move on to item 2, electric vehicle charging stations. Is there a staff discussion of this item?
Yes, Ryan, if you could brief the council, please.
Yes, good evening again. This is a pretty exciting topic. I'm glad to be able to present it tonight. PEPCO came out with a program that where they were allowing municipalities to apply for electric vehicle stations to be installed and run within the municipality at no extra fee or cost to the municipality. I've recently heard back from PEPCO. They told me that the town of Riverdale Park was the first applicant to the program, and they're very excited to see us see this through and begin installing the stations. As part of the application, we suggested 3 sites. They deemed that the town center parking lot where the farmers market is held was deemed the best site for these electric vehicle charging stations. They are proposing that they install 2 electric vehicle stations in the 2 parking spaces just south of if this is working. I'm trying to share my screen. The
Yes, I
two
can see
It
it.
is.
the two parking spaces
electric
just
box.
south of the crosswalk in the middle of, so basically just south of the crosswalk in the middle of the town center parking lot there. So right in the middle of the parking lot.
So by the electric box.
That's right. Yes. Yes. So they are proposing that that they're asking for us to sign an agreement with them to install and operate two Pepco electric vehicle charging stations there. There will be no cost to the town for the installation or the maintenance of the charging stations. Pepco will be charging customers their normal fee for their charging stations. I believe in the cover memo I say exactly what that is, but it obviously fluctuates much like other fuel. So yes, this is very exciting, and Pepco has told us that if we can get the agreement signed within the next couple of weeks, that they should be able to have the electric vehicle charging stations installed and operating before the end of the fall.
Okay.
So I have a few questions. First of all, is what is the format of the charging station? Is it a level 1, a level 2? Do you know the answers?
I would have to look at the email that.
If I can weigh in, Mr. Mayor, if I'm remembering this correctly, the level 1 is the charging station that takes some time for a vehicle to charge, and level 2 is kind of like the supercharge.
Well, level 1 is basically a sort of standard outlet in a house, and level 2 is sort of a 220 volt, higher current, higher voltage, and charges the car faster. And then there are the high capacity ones, of which there are a few different standards, and of course incompatible. And then there's the proprietary, and I doubt that it's this one, Tesla charging standard is a third.
Yeah, it's either going to be a 1 or a 2 out of those choices, sir. And,
Yes.
and we will, by email, send you an update.
Okay. And then the other question is, I drive, as I think you know, an electric hybrid. It's a Prius that's can be plugged in and charged. And so I am always trying to find a place to plug it in because it doesn't have very much range all by itself. And I find very often that popular parking spaces are filled. And so these two spaces are next to non-spaces. And so it doesn't seem like there's a lot of opportunity to stretch the cable out to a perhaps not an initially intended spot, should these two spots be filled up by traditional vehicles. So it may be that there's a better location, but perhaps I can just discuss that with staff over the next week and see whether Pepco had a reason for that and what structure they envisioned for the installation and so on.
Yes, I know that the engineer from Pepco in our discussions mentioned that they had a list of criteria for selecting the parking spaces, but we can certainly talk about that.
Okay. Very good. Are there other council or public comments on this proposal?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Mr. Shelton, I had a question regarding the other two locations that were being considered. Could you share what
Yes.
those were?
The one location I know certainly was the town hall, right, frankly, the parking lot right next to town hall. And John, do you remember which?
Yes,
Okay.
the other one was on town property. I believe it's 54th, over by the Shees lot, just off Riverdale Road.
Okay. Okay, those are the two locations, the other two locations.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
My other question regarding the town center location, they're putting in two now, probably a type 1 or a type 2 charging station. is this a location, did Pepco share this, or discuss with you that that another reason why they like this location is that it can be expanded in the future should this prove popular?
They did mention that would be a possibility at this location, yes.
Okay. And my last question, and this is more for consideration, consideration going forward with this. I am assuming that a structure will be set up for essentially ground rules for how the station will be used by the public.
Yes, so Pepco, this is not their first electric vehicle charging station. They have a number of charging stations in the area, and
Right.
they have a system that they're going to follow. We are just becoming a part of that system, as it were. They have procedures already in place for how their electrical vehicle stations will be maintained and how they will operate.
Okay, so the maintenance of these charging stations falls upon Pepco,
That's right.
or does it fall upon the town?
It falls behind Pepco. They do not want the town to have any hand in the maintenance, and they do not request any sort of funding to assist with the maintenance.
Okay.
Or installation. So
Or
basically,
installation.
they, are we planning to paint the spots as electric vehicle charging only spots?
I had not considered that, but that's something that we'll definitely take into account. Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
You don't like that, Councilman Lingo? I think that's a good idea.
Excuse
And it
me?
eliminates the concern about the someone being in the spot and the cord not reaching.
Well,
No,
well,
I just want to make sure that, please go ahead.
it lessens the chance of that. I can't tell you how many times I found a purely internal combustion vehicle parked in an electric vehicle slot.
Okay. No, I think the question that was asked me, I just want to make sure that, I think it's a very good idea. As a matter of fact, this is an idea that was discussed out at other properties in town, private properties, where something like that could be, a charging station could be set up. So seeing that we're getting, we're looking at putting in 2 charging stations in town center, and that's welcome. And hopefully, there'll be consideration for others. I just want to make sure that whatever is set up, that understanding now that Pepco is going to be responsible for the maintenance and upkeep and operation of the charging stations, that whatever responsibilities the town has are clear, and that we've looked at and considered scenarios that we may come upon with the use of these 2 parking spaces in that area.
I've seen Laura's had her hand up a few times.
So I would just like to build on what y'all have already been saying, but for consideration, we have the Riverdale Park Station has some charging stations that are very clearly marked, and I can't say 100% sure, but it always appears to me that there are electric cars parked there and not combustion engine cars, but that might be worthwhile checking in with them to see maybe some of the challenges, if they've had any challenges with those stations. You can get some lessons learned from those spots. I also was thinking about the fact that they're clearly marked is helpful to me as a driver to know that those spots are intended for charging vehicles. So for people that, you can't always prevent people that have no regard for what that is, but for the majority of people that do, I think that's very helpful so they don't accidentally park in them. The other thing I was thinking about, the current location that's indicated, when we have festivals, currently the farmers market does not extend that far, but as our town becomes more and more popular, who knows what's happening with our farmers market in the future. So those spots are in a zone that at this point in time potentially could not be usable for certain events that the town has. And then the other thought I had was that lot there, though, is rarely filled when there's not an event there. So in that respect, you would think those spots would be available when needed. And then certainly people commuting with the MARC train might encourage them to charge their car all day, and they'd be gone all day. But I don't know if that's good or bad, to be quite honest. And the level 1, level 2 aspect of it, I certainly hope it's at least a level 2, because if it's level 1, what good, that to me, it impacts the return on investment of putting them in there. If people have to leave their cars to get any appreciable charge, they have to leave their cars for a long time. That just compounds the issue of making them available for as many folks as possible. So those were just the thoughts I had as the council and staff work through this. Yes, this obviously this good thing. Way to follow up, Ryan. Thank you. That's it.
Can't hear you, Mr.
That's all I have. Those are the thoughts I had. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
I had a failure of my Bluetooth headphones at one point during that. I was out for about 10 or 15 seconds.
They're waterlogged from that waterfall behind you, I think.
Sounds like the microphone might not have come back after that. So I've been discussing this with town staff for a while, and one of the things in a normal time is that this is an economic development program. So it encourages people who have electric vehicles to come and park their car there, and while it's charging, go over to one of the nearby restaurants, to Town Center Market, and shop and buy some stuff and hang out for a while, and then pick up their car on the way out. The charging stations in Riverdale Park Station near the Whole Foods address the issue that I was bringing up, in that both of the 2 charging stations there can access 2 separate parking spaces. And so there are 4 spaces, but only 2 chargers. And that means that if someone's car, the battery tops off, then somebody in the adjacent space that can also be reached from that one charger can use the charger. And so, I'll be reviewing this with staff and with looking at least the materials from Pepco, and see if we can do something similar that make it accessible to more than one spot, and then we don't have to worry as much about the spot being taken up.
Yeah, actually, that would be a good idea. That would be great, because if you're going to put in 2, why not put in 4?
Sounds good. Or accessible to 4 spots.
Exactly, accessible to 4 spots. I think that makes sense, and I think that in essentially being able to have, to echo Ms. Katz's sentiment about having a quicker charging station than a slower charging one, would obviously be something we would want to be pushing for with Pepco, and they may be considering that already.
When I was asking the question, I actually didn't intend to bring up the level 1 stations, because those are, I don't think Pepco would do that. We honestly could install a level 1 station at that location right now, because there's some plugs that are available that are paid for by the town, and you can just buy a cable for $150 that would plug into one of those and make a level 1 station. And so I'm pretty sure that these are going to be level 2 stations. But it sounds like they may not be the very high end ones that are used for charging the pure electric vehicles in a short period of time. So any other discussion on this? Councilman Lingua, did you actually want the staff to address next week sort of spot usage plans and scenarios, or?
I mean, I don't think it needs to be. I mean, I think prior, if it's, as long as it's addressed prior to, to usage commencing, and that we're able to disseminate the information to the public. I mean, from what I'm reading here, I'm seeing is they want to have this up and going by the fall.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought is that letting folks know at least by beginning of August that this is coming, or that when the final installation, when it will be up and operational, and that what are the rules of etiquette charging are going, that we would like folks to follow.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I hope is going to be set up, as opposed to we have charging stations. Here we go. I mean, I see these as a little bit different than what's up at Whole Foods, is because the Whole Foods charging stations are in a private lot, and where these are going in, it's going to be a public lot. So there's a difference there.
Sure.
And we have it's an area of which we have authority and responsibility to.
So I will be personally researching the PEPCO, similar PEPCO funded sites. Something that some sites that I've seen at various locations is that they tend to charge a fairly low rate to start to be connected. So it might be that it's either 10 or 12 cents per kilowatt hour for the first 4 hours, and anything beyond that gets very expensive just to sit there. And so they're trying to encourage people to move out by disconnecting and moving your car, and not leaving it blocking the spot all day.
Within an hour's time.
Typically it's more than an hour. Typically it's, a few hours, but it's not, it's not, if you stay there all day, then you'll pay for using the spot.
Well,
so I'll be happy to do a little research.
Sure, I'd be happy to look at stuff as well. I would just, I think for us, I think, as you would point out, for an economic development incentive, a charging system that's quicker, I think, is more attractive as a destination for, like, as you were mentioning, folks coming there and patronizing businesses there, in the sense that they can do that, and in the time they're doing that, they'll come out and they'll have a fairly decent charge into their car's battery during that time, as opposed to if they're going for that amount of time and what they're getting on a charge is really marginal.
Okay, well, I will have answers next week for a lot of these questions, and look forward to discussing it further then.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that we will get something that we want out of this this project. I think PEPCO is not in it. They're not amateurs at this, and they know what the electric vehicle drivers want. So we'll see.
Oh, I would imagine. I would imagine they've been around this block a few times, no pun intended. But it's just a matter of making sure that we're on the same page with them about what we're installing there.
Okay, very good. Any further discussion of the electric vehicle charging stations? Hearing none, let's move on to renewal of economic development programs. Is there a staff presentation on this?
Ryan's going to have a busy night, yes.
Yes, yes, there is. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, in 2018, Mayor and Council introduced 2 ordinances establishing a Go Green initiative and a redevelopment zone initiative. Both of these ordinances are to terminate after 2 years unless they're extended by resolution by the town council. The Go Green initiative program, just to jog your memories, is it promotes environmental sustainability by exempting the town's building permit and application fees to install solar panels on either residential, commercial, or industrial properties. The redevelopment zone initiative exempts property owners from the town's building permit fees and 1 year of the town's business license fee following the completion of the project. I've heard many good things about the project since I've been here. We've had at least 1 redevelopment zone initiative applicant and recipient. And I've heard that we've had at least half a dozen Go Green initiative recipients in the past that have been exempt for their sustainable additions to their homes and to their other properties. So yes, I'm a big fan of this program, or both of these programs, and I would suggest that, that we continue them.
Okay. In the memo, it says staff are adjusting the program's operations based on council and applicant feedback.
Yes, we are adjusting the application to make the requirements for applicants more clear. That we had some back and forth between applicants while they were applying, and we were provided some recommendations for how to clear that up and make it easier for them to fill out.
Okay, very good. Council or public comments on this item?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you. Are you looking, will there be a change in the maximum amount of waiver with the the renewal of these resolutions?
We were not planning on changing anything with regards to the amount being waived, no.
So in other words, it would still be for business property, it would be still $7,250, and for residences, it would still be what is it, $7,050?
I believe, yes, that's correct. Yes.
And that's tied to the building permit. And I believe that's our maximum building permit that we would be able to charge. So that's why the ceiling's established there.
Okay, all right. I was just wondering if there was going to be an adjustment on that or not.
Not at this time.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I think this makes eminent sense, and the sooner we can get it on an agenda, the better.
I think it'll be on next week's agenda, barring any objection.
Yeah, I agree.
Councilmember-
Oh, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Food, anything else?
No, I agree as well. I think both the last 2 agenda items fit nicely into our town's vision on sustainability, and I like putting action plans to our statements. So it's good to see these things being pushed forward, and I'd like to, thank staff for helping us meet our vision statements. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other council comments? I'll just mention for the record that Ms. Katz gave nonverbal 2 thumbs up on this. So I think that's it. So hearing nothing else, this will go on the agenda for next week. And let's move on to the next item, the CARES Act funding plan. Is there a staff presentation on this?
There is.
You'll never guess who. Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The town received a notification from the county that $441,000 from the CARES Act funding was being allocated to our town for eligible uses. The town was required to submit a plan to the county on how we were expecting to spend the funds in accordance with all of the guidelines attached. The The plan was submitted on Friday because that was the date, the deadline. And our plan focuses on 3 general areas. The first is focusing on our PPE, our personal protective equipment, and reimbursing what we've already purchased, as well as scheduling payments, scheduling how much we plan to pay for future personal protective equipment. This also included some items like the officers' staff time to help and assist with food giveaways and things like of that nature. Another focus of our plan was to help reimburse and fund in the future our food programs for our existing programs that we did with our Partners in Economic Recovery Program initiatives. So that included items like our Farmers Market Dollars program, so we'll be applying for reimbursement for what we've spent so far, as well as applying for some of the funds to be scheduled to be spent for future use in that program. We also plan to use it on other items such as the food forest and other programs that we have that are catering towards helping to feed our residents. The last focus and the biggest focus of this schedule, this plan, is to work with the county and specifically the Department of Social Services on their rent relief program. The county has an existing rent relief program that they are receiving applications for. In fact, I think they've put a hold on applications at the moment, but we are going to work with them to provide additional funds for town residents to be able to receive rent relief for their residential properties in town. And that takes up a majority of the funding that was allocated to the town.
I would just add, to clarify what the majority is, it's slightly above 280,000 of the 441,000 would, in the plan that's submitted, to go to residential rent relief. It's also important to note that the county didn't give us much time to put this together. We received an email on May 6th, and we had to submit on May 22nd. We did originally have this on our agenda for last week. So if moving forward, if something's working well and other things are not, provided everything that was submitted is approved, we would have an opportunity to amend the plan. And so, Ryan, I would ask that if you could create a synopsis of the plan showing where the monies are going, and we'll either email that out to the full council so you can see what staff have submitted. And with that, if anyone has any questions or concerns.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please.
I had a question regarding in the second area that the draft plan is focusing on, particularly the residential rental assistance program that's in coordination with the Prince George's County Development of Social Services. Could you fill in a little bit what that approach might entail?
Yes, Ryan, if it's okay, I'll take this since I've been taking the lead talking to the Department of Social Services. So Prince George's County developed an emergency rent relief program, and it's administered by the Department of Social Services. In addition to the rent relief program, and the county also works with a myriad of nonprofits on housing counseling and mortgage assistance. It's a slight misnomer to say it's all for rental. There's a component that could be used for mortgage assistance. And so if a homeowner were to call and say, I'm behind in my mortgage, I think I'm in trouble, the Department of Social Services would farm that out to a nonprofit that currently is undertaking that type of work for the county.
Okay.
In terms of the housing counseling, and they would work with the homeowners to assist them with mortgage modifications. But if someone were not eligible for a modification, because you can only have so many modifications within a period of time,
Right.
then the nonprofit then would reach back to us. They would do the underwriting and making sure everything is together in terms of for audit purposes. And that's a big component of this by having the Department of Social Services and or one of their nonprofits handling all the paperwork. And then ultimately it comes back to the town as an approved packet. So they would have an applicant either for rental or for mortgage. They would vet the applications and determine whether or not by their criteria that assistance should be provided. The town then, and we haven't fleshed out all the details because of the time constraints, but the town then could say, well, we want to make sure, for example, that that the property is a licensed rental property before we cut a check to someone. So we can have small conditions on our side. I would urge a little bit of caution in having too many conditions, because then we're going to be put in a position where the Department of Social Services says to a resident, we're recommending that you're funded, and then we have the opportunity to say no. That's something that we're going to flesh out and come back to the council. Hopefully even next week we can have some sort of a document put together saying here's the types of conditions that we think that look out for the town's interest, but also finds balance.
Okay.
Does that kind of
So
answer?
a lot of the framework, well, yeah, and so I'm taking a lot of the framework then is really based on parameters set by the county.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What I've been told in my discussions, and I've been dealing with the chief of staff for the department, what I've been told is they initially had $4 million for this program. And they have upwards, or they have in excess actually of 7,000 applicants so far. So they currently closed the application period. And they did not have our town boundaries before this, and they still don't. If our plan's approved, then we will work through those sorts of things. But based upon our zip code, they said approximately 20 to 25%, a rough number, of the applications were from our zip code. So there's at least a perceived need in terms of folks applying. That doesn't mean that they would be approved or recommended. The nice thing that I think the partnership brings is the Department of Social Services is aware of all the other programs that are out there, and that they can help redirect. So someone may call and say, I'm calling about rent relief. Well, one of their talking points to me was, well, we would also say, have you applied for cash assistance? Have you applied for SNAP? Have you applied for various other programs that the state or the federal government may have that could assist the applicant at the same time? And it may actually then reduce the amount needed for rent if they're able to get them SNAP benefits, for example.
Okay, so All right, I see how this is working. Okay.
I'll just
Yeah,
throw
I mean-
out there that, as town manager said, 20 to 25% of the applications came from our zip code, whereas our zip code contains much closer to 2% of the county's population. So the demand here is very high, apparently.
Very large. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if they've got $4 million towards this and they've got 7,000 applicants, it's not leaving very much money per applicant. So, I mean,
It's not.
essentially the way that they're looking at setting it up, really it's almost a, almost a resource of last resort to help with that issue, in a sense. Okay.
I think that's a good way to describe it, sir.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they're trying to find other ways, identify other ways that for them to get assistance, and other ways to help with their home budgets. Yeah. Okay.
The one thing that I don't believe Ryan's mentioned yet is that in the initial memo that we put together, we were looking at providing some assistance to businesses on rent type issues. And what we have found is that if we were to have something like that, the county most likely would disqualify anyone from applying to the county business programs and to something that the town's putting together. So we are working on a recommendation where if we are able to have this plan approved and we receive reimbursements for the various programs in the Partners in Economic Recovery Initiative, that could free up tens of thousands of dollars from our Economic Development Fund, that should the council want to do something for businesses, we could do that with general fund dollars. So we're examining that, and that way we're not running into a conflict with the county and limiting a business should they be receiving a small portion of aid from a county program, but we wanted to do something a little bit different. The county said that could not happen. But if we funded some sort of a program with general fund dollars, provided we receive this reimbursement, then that would give the council the ability to implement something for businesses.
Could also come under like going back and looking at the Partnership and Economic Recovery Initiative and seeing what avenues are available there to either to augment.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I mean, because we have a structure set up there.
Absolutely, sir.
That's the wheel we've invented. So
the only other thing I would add, Mr. Mayor and Council, is that we're hopeful to hear back from the county as soon as possible on these on our plan. And however, they did tell us that could take as long as 30 days. And so
30 days.
They said it could take as long as that. I'm sure they are wanting to get the money out the door because funds that are not expended by December 15th are lost. And so I mentioned at the beginning of this discussion item that if something's working well, we may have to be fluid and move money back and forth from one approved activity to another because the money will go away on December 15th.
In the sense, December 15th is the. Explain that deadline again to me.
The deadline for the funds to be expended
To be
is
expended.
to be expended is December 15th.
Okay.
So if we don't
So
have checks,
that's essentially checks written by the county going out the door by no later than December 15th.
well, and actually the checks would be written by us. And,
Okay.
and yes, so.
We
so
submit paperwork.
Correct. And then, but
So,
we actually
In
have to
other
write.
words, submission of paperwork by us no later than December 15th.
No, the check's cut by us by December 15th.
Correct. But then
yes.
aren't we then,
Oh, yes,
Look-
yes, sir.
we're looking for reimbursement from the county
And that has to be
Correct.
submitted by the same time, sir. Yes, sir.
by December. That's what I mean. In other words, checks cut by the town and paperwork submitted to the county by December 15th.
Yes, sir. And,
Okay, which really, in a sense, we want to have checks cut before then, and then that paperwork submitted.
correct.
Okay. Now here comes an obvious question. Does that mean that, say we've cut checks and we've submitted that paperwork, but checks aren't cashed until after the 15th, or is this essentially,
That's okay.
are these, okay, all right.
Yes, as long as we have the documentation that the check was cut and we complete the drawal form for the county, then it'll be approved.
Okay.
But if we miss the deadline, then we assume that risk.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to have a lot of problem meeting that deadline since, if there were 1,500 applications in the zip code and we have even say 300 of those and we gave $1,000 to each one towards rent, then that's $300,000 right there.
And the money's gone.
And the money's gone. So I'm not particularly worried about meeting a mid-December deadline as long as the money shows up fairly quickly. Is there further discussion of this item? Okay.
No.
Let's move on to Ethics Commission appointments. Staff report on this? Or is
Ms.
this pretty
Barnes?
straight?
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is just a quick reminder that our the appointments for the Ethics Commission, their terms expired in April of 2020, so it's a time to reappoint or appoint new members. Currently, our 3 members are active and interested in continuing to serve.
Sounds, well, if they're interested and they'd like to continue. Has anyone else expressed an interest?
No, they haven't. There's no other interest that I'm aware of. I think when we went out to, when we saw volunteers the last time 2 years ago, these were the 3 folks who expressed interest and the mayor selected them. They were confirmed by the council. They have done a fantastic job. They meet regularly and just very thoughtful members.
They're working well as a team.
They called themselves the A-team.
Not the E-team?
Well,
No.
can
Can you provide their names again?
Sure. Andrea Huberty, John Wells, and Corey Buford.
fine by me.
Okay, any other questions or council comment or public comment? Member of the public appears to have ducked out a little bit. Next item on the agenda are the minutes, as usual.
Mr. Mayor,
Please. Yes.
I apologize. I couldn't get off mute fast enough when you asked about any other questions. I was talking, but I was on. Going back to the previous agenda item, I just wanted to emphasize that for me, my focus is to ensure that the residents who are in need of financial assistance or rental assistance, that we emphasize that is our primary focus. I understand that businesses are struggling as well, but the cost of rent for businesses is a lot higher than I'm sure for most of our residents who are renting homes. And so I just want to make sure that whatever plan staff comes up with, that the focus is to make sure that we assist as many residential residents as possible.
Okay, I think that that's the direction that we're leaning. It's just we're trying to provide a little bit of flexibility should there be some circumstance that we want to spend some money on in the business direction, that we at least have that flexibility. But I believe that all of these plans will be, as they get fleshed out, will be brought to the council. Is that correct, Mr. Town Manager?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we will have, as my boss at work likes to say, have another bite at the apple on this one. So.
And
okay.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, we're, as I mentioned, we're working on some guidelines now, and we will share things with the council as they're developed, because time is really of the essence in rolling out the assistance.
Sure. Agreed. Okay, so there are minutes. Please review them and provide feedback to Ms. Barnes. And that brings us to new business. Is there any new business? Let's go on to unfinished business then. First item under unfinished business is the International Property Maintenance Code. Is there a staff presentation or discussion of this?
Either Ms. Barnes or Ryan. I'm not sure which or who.
I'm muted by the host. Okay. My apologies. I think Ms. Barnes and I were both trying to unmute myself at the same time. Yes, I will be taking this item. We spoke again with the Office of Neighborhood Services about their recommendations for the International Property Maintenance Code should we accept its guidelines, and they had, I think, a very good recommendation. We had discussed in the past having visible addresses on the outside of residential properties so that for safety, both safety and code enforcement reasons. This is along those same lines, but for multifamily units. So this is for multifamily dwellings. It would require that all primary doors leading into an individual dwelling unit are required to have some sort of numbering system or unit number listed on the door. And it would also require signage from the elevator, from hallway junctions, and also from stairway doors, listing where all the units can be located within the building. This is not only for code enforcement reasons to help keep everything up to code, but this is also for safety reasons, so that our fire department and our police officers are able to quickly acknowledge which unit is the correct unit that they should be going into. So these are the recommendations that we received from our neighborhood services team, and I'm very proud of their recommendations.
Very good.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I just think the signage I'm looking at is 310. I think it's common sense for our first responders, first and foremost. Just being able to identify where people are. And that's not even considering this new world that we live in and how that applies to successful deliveries. You know, I mean, and I think that's way down on the line, more down the line than first responders. But like, it's common sense that we should have clear markings to let people know what it is they're doing. I mean, think about going into it, you know, from a police perspective or a fire perspective. I shudder to think the fears that that could bring to the job. Not knowing where you're going, it increases the likelihood of mistakes. So I think that for this one specifically, we should pass as soon as possible.
Okay, other council comment?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Of course.
Under 310.1.2, opposite elevator, and this goes to 310.1.3 as well. They're saying signs shall have bold lettering with a minimum height of 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch is not very big, and I think we should amend that to, I'm thinking a height of at least 2 inches. I mean, for the very reason that Councilman just brought up, or was brought up about in terms of fire and police trying to readily determine direction. Given if this situation where there's smoke or else there's power that's out and they're having to use flashlights or whatever, that, you know, a 1/2 inch height is not very tall at all.
Okay.
That is
And
a
if you
fair
want-
point. We can certainly look into changing that to be 2 inches.
Yeah, I mean, if you're coming out of something and you're needing to look quickly, and you're dealing with elements, I would think 2 inch would be more appropriate.
Does the IPMC default document have any guidance on height of lettering for purposes such as this? Or
It did not, no.
okay. I thought a 1/2 inch was small also, but I was thinking maybe an inch. So, but I don't object as long as we can. It would work to have the larger size.
Yeah, I think 2 inches.
And is that intended to be the height of the letters or the height of the signs? Let me read this. Lettering is how I interpret the sentence.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other council comments or public comment? All looks good to me.
Yeah, otherwise I'm fine with it. That was my one issue with it. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Okay, if there's no other comments, let's move on to the next item on the agenda. Items 2, 4, and 5 are the ones usually grouped together. Is 2 because of the change that you put it earlier, or and items 4 and 5 there were no changes from the previous revision? Is that correct?
Ms. Barnes?
Yes, I think the way that this was laid out was just a numerical order, but you are correct. Okay. Items 2, 4, and 5 are, they all work together.
And 4 and 5 have not been altered from what we've seen in the past?
No.
Okay, well, why don't we just go ahead and jump into number 2, because I think we'll probably slide on past 4 and 5 then. I had a discussion before we get going too far on it. I had a discussion this morning with the town manager that there was what I thought was a little mistake, and he agreed with that. In the new language, the red letter language, and I'm trying to find it. And I picked the wrong document to look at.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Point of clarification, you had said items 2, 4, and 5. Is that actually items 3, 4, and 5 you were thinking about? Because item
on the agenda that I have, it's number 3, item number 3 under unfinished is chapter 53 Police Department. But I believe that the documents we received in the packet then
Actually, I have that as item number 2.
Right. Okay, well, why don't we just go ahead and do the numbering of the documents and go with the police department, and then we can do 3, 4, and 5 all as one group.
Okay.
So, police department. This is introduced by you, Councilman Lingua. Would you care to discuss anything about it, or we've seen this before, of course.
Exactly, Mr. Ray. We've seen this before, and I'm seeing, language that is very similar to what we've seen before, and I have no issues with what I am reading before me in terms of what's been laid out here. And it's a credit to the department for what they've put together and outlining as clearly as they have the conduct described within here. And I think this is something that we should be ready to move on come the meeting on June 2nd.
Okay, very good.
I'm happy to listen to any other comments that other council members have on this. So that's just my thought on this.
Council?
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. One look at this document, you can tell the work that went into it. When you've seen what other municipalities have offered, it doesn't hold a flame to this. I think this is best practice for our police department moving forward. And it allows us to work in our most at-risk portions of our communities safely. So I wholeheartedly support this. I think it's great work by staff and the police department, and just proud to be a part of this. So that's it.
Okay. Other council comments, public comments? Hearing nothing, then let's move on to, as numbered in the documents, item 3, the charter amendment and the changed language that town manager and I settled on after I had a good night's sleep and had some coffee and was awake again. Is the red letters in the document as distributed say, with written notification to the town council allowing for a town council comment period not to exceed 10 calendar days from the date of notification, and change that to read, with written notification to the town council allowing for a town council comment period of 10 calendar days from the date of notification. And so that just sets what the period is, that we have a comment period. It lasts 10 days from notification until the hire can actually happen. And so, I had suggested a possible no less than, but the 10 days I think is the right thing, that just specifies what it is. And then of course, the town manager has flexibility after that of exactly when to issue the formal notice. And that's the only change from what we've seen for quite a while. So discussion by the council?
I think the 10 calendar days is a very fair compromise. I would have been happy with, happy to go with something shorter, but I think 10 is fine.
Okay. Other council?
Yes, sir. We need to be able to act in a more quickly fashion than in 10 days if necessary. I recognize that, and this is what Councilwoman Dixon brought up last point, like we can give that green light or whatever, our opinion on the hire. I don't want to be in a position where we're making a prospective employee wait and we end up losing them. because of that. That's just my only concern to this. But if everyone feels comfortable with that 10-day waiting period, I'm fine. I, as a council member, and would encourage all council members here to be ready to act more quickly than 10 days. So that's just where I want to be, because I believe the best thing that we can do is talent acquisition. Staff makes us look good. So.
Yeah, I think that 10 days is pretty reasonable because if you make an offer or a provisional offer or an indication that you intend to make an offer on a Friday, then you have 9 days later takes you to the Monday past the 2 weekends, and so that's 9 calendar days right there, and so it's a pretty short period of time, and I think that that it's not the.
Actually, that would take you to, the Sunday would be the 10th calendar day.
2, 3, 4,
If
5,
you're counting
6,
that
7.
Friday as the first day.
That would be the presumed day of notification. I think it's the Monday, but I'm not going to quibble with you over one day. So still, that's a reasonably short time period, and I think it's not out of line with other hiring periods. I think we're unlikely to lose anybody in that sort of time period. So,
okay. That's reassuring.
Mr. Mayor, if I may ask a question.
Of course.
I would like to hear from the councilman regarding what do you think, what he would see as a reasonable time if it were not 10 calendar days.
And this is Councilman Lingo, where I don't know. I'm not familiar with how long that usually occurs over, and if staff and council feel 10 days is good, then if I had any suggestion, it would be 7. But like, I imagine we'll hear about it in a timely fashion, and we'll be able to respond in a timely fashion. So I think if 10 days is with the town manager, I'm okay with it.
Okay. What would your thoughts be of 8 calendar days?
I don't know. Do you I would support 8 calendar days. Like I said, if town staff indicates that they are comfortable with 10 days, then I'm comfortable with 10 days. But if it's 8 days, then I'm fine with 8 days as well. I don't have I worry about the acquisition of talent, and that's it.
Well, that's what I was thinking, that, possibly looking at 8 days would address that concern.
I would personally be concerned taking it too much below 10, just and this is all sort of theoretical. I'm not honestly worried about this being an issue, but it just seems that 10 days, getting the council organized enough to actually, should they decide to do something, to actually do it is pretty short. And I mean, that's 1 day over a week. And so in particular, if somebody's out of town, if somebody's on vacation, then the chances of being able to get action would drop somewhat dramatically. And so the 10 days, we started this out discussing it as 10 business days, and it got whittled down to 10 calendar days, and I think that's a pretty reasonable number. But I'm not going to die on this hill.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Mayor, if I can chime in. So I just pulled up the hiring process when Ivy was brought on board. And I've expressed to the council before that I was concerned with how things were because of talent acquisition, and can we have someone waiting? Well, the date of the conditional offer of employment was October 3rd. And we didn't get in front of council until October 29th. So that was, from my perspective, clearly much too long. I think 10 days gives an opportunity for the council to act should they disagree with whoever their town manager is, and say, well, no, we disagree with this hire, and we're going to act to curtail the town manager from being able to move forward, perhaps even the town manager's employment. So I think 10 days strikes a nice balance. And I think we can still find a way to have someone wait, if you will, because the first 10 days, we're actually doing background investigation between a conditional offer and a final offer. So the 10 days kind of fits neatly in that. So it should be pretty seamless, because it takes us 10 days for a physical. It takes us 10 days for credit checks, things of that nature. So I think we can have a process that finds balance.
So you don't think that 10 days is too cumbersome?
I do not.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm fine with it then.
likewise.
Other council comments? Public comment? You're seeing a head shake from Ms. Katz. Is there discussion then on the other two items under this general topic, the personnel manual and the ordinance?
I'm fine with it.
I do have a question.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry to backtrack. I was just, Resolution 2020-OR05 regarding the police section. Is
Yes.
that available for public to look at that at all? I couldn't find that online. Couldn't find that in the list.
Ms. Barnes,
Is that on the website or is that somewhere else?
you're muted, Ms. Barnes.
Yes, it's included in the meeting packets from the past several meetings, and the fair summary has been in the town crier. But yes, you are more than
Okay.
welcome to get a copy of that. Do you want me to email it to you directly?
If it's is it in the last packet then? It's in the list? Okay, it's not listed in the list of ordinances that have been proposed
Okay, I'll double check that.
on the website, but I'll look in the packets and I'm sure I can find it there. It's not in tonight's either, that's all.
It's in my packet tonight. It's under unfinished business item 2.
Really? I'll look again. I got mine off the web. Is that the one off the web there? Did you look? I scrolled through that.
Let me double check to make sure we didn't have a PDF merge issue.
It's there.
Okay. Sorry about that.
So at least in the packet I had, then the file names and the item names were switched for items 2 and 3. So so even though it's listed in the agenda as being item 3, the file name is unfinished business item 2.
And if you're on the website, if you do a control find for chapter 53, it'll take you to the ordinance.
Not doing it for me. Okay. in the packet. Oh, wait, there, no, just in the agenda. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, there it is. Thank you. Page
Of
1,
course.
got it in the packet.
Okay, so that brings us around to council, committee, and ward reports. So Councilmember Dixon, Ward 1. Councilmember Dixon, I think you are locally muted. Well, why don't we skip ahead to Councilmember Foe and come back to Councilmember Dixon. Councilmember Foe?
Yes, I don't really have any prepared remarks this evening. I just want to share a dialogue that the town manager and the mayor and I have been holding, and I think all council probably needs to get to this. At some point, I believe that we will move from Prince George's County into a yellow phase where we start to open up to some extent. And I think we need to be prepared to do that as safely as possible. And the dialogue started, I read an editorial from the Dallas Morning News about use of space in municipalities. I sent an email. The town manager responded immediately with what's going on in DC and Adams Morgan about how they're looking to shut down streets and use of parking lots to create safe space for people to start to socialize again. And I just think that we need to all be thinking about what this new Riverdale Park is going to look like and how can we do that safely and how can we also encourage socialization. I find myself, I'm very social. I've always been very social. I find myself psychologically impacted as I am going out. I'm living in this world of fear and I need help going back into that world where I feel comfortable again. So like just utilizing our spaces as wisely as we can to assist businesses, to also assist our residences and get doing it as safely as humanly possible, I think needs to be the forefront of discussions to ensure that we have a quality summer in RP. So I want to start a dialogue amongst staff and council and residents and what we see our future, our immediate future looking like in this pandemic era. So with that, I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Very, very interesting point. Talking about some of the articles we read about taking parallel parking spaces and making little parklets. I saw a small group of people on the Village Green up in Riverdale Park Station a couple of weeks ago, carefully spaced out 10 or 12 feet between them, just sitting out there in lawn chairs and having a little socially distant party, which was nice to see that people are figuring that out.
Yeah, I love it. And we have great spaces in town where we can safely commit to, you know what I mean? It'd just be fun to sit at a clean picnic table within 10 feet of another family and not feel entirely freaked out. I personally need it, and I imagine a lot of people do.
Yes, definitely. Okay. Councilmember Dixon, are you available to do your report or still on local mute? Let's try Councilmember Lingua. Councilmember Lingua?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Gosh, if I ever heard of a topic that would have been a great thing to come under new business, there it is. Because interestingly enough, I had spoken with Edward Day over at Riversdale a few weeks ago, and that I wanted to talk to him about how it is that the music at the mansion could possibly go forward in the coming months. I've yet to get back to him on that, but now that the holiday is over, I hope to do so. As well, I hope that this is a topic at the next meeting under new business, and that we're able to discuss some possible ideas and some possible scenarios on what streets could be designated as one way for a period of time and how that could be enacted. I don't see such an exercise as falling solely upon staff. I think there are other things that staff do. I think this is something that, as council, we can look at our respective wards and think about possible scenarios and forward them on for consideration. That being said, in terms of ward report, I will hold any information I have till next week.
Very good. Councilmember Dixon? Still not hearing Councilmember Dixon. Let's go on to Councilmember Richardson. You have a word report? Councilmember Richardson?
Councilmember Richardson is gone.
Ah, okay. That's right, it's after 8 o'clock. Councilmember Mayers?
I don't have any ward reports at this time.
Okay. Very good. Last chance for Councilmember Dixon, if you have a word report. I'm still hearing nothing, so that brings us to the end of the meeting. Unless anybody wants to bring anything up before we go, then let's all turn off our cameras and turn off our headphones and call it an evening.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Okay.
everybody.
Good night,
everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank
Good night,
you all.
everybody.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Till next time.